I'm a consultant that specialises in personal and organisational development. I've been doing that for over 20 years now. So that's kind of the organisation. It's called Interconnexion. We have a explore, refine, apply, embed approach. So we like to explore complex ideas. We like to look at them, understand them, simplify them so they can be easily understood, and then apply them and embed them using the latest in what works in terms of neuroscience, psychology, but also from my background, the martial arts. So I was involved since before it began, or before it was released anyway, for sure. And it's great to see how it's flourished and developed. I work with individuals and teams, and what I think is particularly good about TalentPredix is it's the fact that it's holistic. And what I mean by that is I love the talent and strength approach. I think it's a fantastic approach to take. I think every individual has a portfolio of things that they're wonderful at, and they just need to find them and refine them. So that's number one. Number two, I really think it's important that we take account of values. Values are our source of motivation. So without our values being fed, then we lack energy. We lack focus. We lack joy almost. So if we can get our values fed and work to our talents and strengths, I think that's a powerful combination. And then if you add the career development piece to the back end of that provides like a direction certainly for the medium to long term. Say, okay, so how do I use my talents and strengths? How do I apply my values in this direction? So I think for me, it was the holistic nature of the three pieces coming together, which produces a more powerful whole. I actually use it in three different ways. I use it for teamwork, I use it for executive coaching, and I also use it for recruitment. For individual coaching, what I find is people generally want to get better, they want to excel, and sometimes giving them a simple insight into what it is that they naturally gravitate toward in terms of their talents and strengths is a great place to start. I think any kind of self-awareness before any development program is essential. So TalentPredix provides that foundational piece of information, which shows people, how they can get the best of themselves, how they can flex to get better, and also importantly, I think, in terms of the talents overused, overplayed element, how they can get in their own way when they push too hard on their talent or strength. So for individual coaching, I find that a great combo. For teamwork, providing a way of sharing that information to an entire team at the same time is really powerful. So, for example, I was working with a client a while ago, and actually, I think I may have been one of the first to use the team profile, but I used the team profile, and it was very clear that the reason I was working with the team, by the way, is because they weren't collaborating very well. So, but after that first workshop with them, it was very clear that you had a group of people that all wanted to be the leader. So seeing going up on the charts, the fact that every single member of the team wanted to be a leader was important for them. A good piece of insight, but also the fact that there were gaps. They all wanted to lead, but there was actually a very weak execution bias in terms of what they were doing. So that, again, focusing on or allowing them to see where there are gaps was really powerful. And incidentally, that team has just recently won an industry award, a highly prestigious industry award. So the work worked. Going back to the third way I use TalentPredix is that the inadequacy of a purely interview-based approach to recruitment is well researched now, and I find that TalentPredix helps my clients really think about what talents and motivations and career aspirations a role might require. So that helps them be more precise, but also helps them gives them more objective metrics and criteria on which to evaluate potential candidates. I like a talent-based approach. So I've used other strengths-based tools in the past. I find them really powerful. I like the usability. Let's call it that. The usability, the accessibility and pragmatism of the report. So the visuals are really clear. The one pager with the talents, the career drivers, and the values on, I think is a really great summary tool for people just to keep in mind. In terms of the team visualization, having the team wheel, I think, is great. I don't know that it's unique, but I do like how it's laid out, and I do like how clear it makes or provides information for teams to evaluate. I'll give you a couple. The first one that springs to mind is working with the C-suite, essentially. Sometimes people in the C-suite aren't always as transparent as they could be, and I think sometimes there's an unwillingness to show vulnerability in some scenarios. So to have a report or have an approach like TalentPredix, which enables the individuals to look at themselves, and then with their permission to share that content, I think is a very powerful way of building deeper trust in a team, and I think particularly senior teams. So I've had several instances of that experience over the last 12 months or so, 18 months maybe, where having that transparency has accelerated what I would consider to be important conversations about approaches and ways of working and dialogue and projects and focus and all those kinds of things. So I think that's been very powerful. And from an individual point of view, what I found is that, for example, again, recently working with a client who's just gone into the C-suite. So for them, the approach gave them a really clear picture of where they were great, So there was a bit of concern about going into a new role where they didn't know all the answers. They were a technical specialist, and they were now going into a place where they wouldn't have all the answers. And then to give them the ability to recognize, the core talents and strengths that enable them to be great at what they do, but also then to think about how they could apply those talents and strengths into this new area. And their feedback to me was it provided a great foundation on which to build their confidence going into what would be a new and challenging space. The kind of what I find is it's the same story. So, and I don't want to talk about particular clients, obviously. So the transparency that accelerates trust and development, I think that's important. And the insight that comes from having a detailed picture of, or an individual having a detailed picture of where they're strong, where they naturally can perform, how they can get the best out of that. And as mentioned earlier, importantly, not to overplay a strength. So for example, if somebody's great at decision making, and you flag that they're great at decision making, that it's a talent of theirs, and then also flag that they might have a potential for making decisions that aren't theirs, or jumping in and making decisions for other people. It's like a little light bulb moment that goes on and says, oh yeah, I do that. Why do I do that? I don't need to do that, do I? Yeah, that kind of insight. So, and again, the leading one too. I want to lead all the time. So, yeah, sometimes it's not their place, or it's not their project to lead, or not their conversation to lead. So the overplayed thing is really important, I think. So, and as I mentioned, having an idea of where your talents lie, that's where the joy comes into work for me. If you can live your values and apply your talents in a direction that's exciting for you, what's not to love about work?